Back in the early 70s, Jethro Tull made a name for themselves as an up-and-coming progressive rock band and had their own unique personality. They released a few classic albums like Aqualung and Thick as a Brick, which were loved by fans and critics, but then they released a few albums in the mid-70s that critics and fans didn't like as much, specifically the album Too Old to Rock and Roll, Too Young to Die, which I personally like. But I know some fans thought they were going in a different direction. But then Jethro Tull decided to try something new. They released Songs from the Wood, which would be what I call their second act. This album is known to be the first of a trilogy called the Folk Rock Trilogy. That's what I want to talk about in this video. I'll be talking about different things that led the band to move in this particular direction. Let's get into it. I'm going to show you my CD. It's just a simple CD that's part of a box set, but I'll show you what it looks like and talk about the cover. The front cover shows Ian Anderson sitting by a fire in the woods. Now, here's something interesting. The back cover features the credit, front cover painting by J.L. Lee. Now, the cover looks like a photograph, so the credit painting by is probably based on a typical trick by Ian Anderson, who likes to joke with his fans. The full wording on the front cover is Jethro Tull, with kitchen prose, gutter rhymes, and divers songs from the wood. The back cover features a tree trunk that looks like a record player. One side is side one, under that is the band, and the other side is the back cover, or side two, where it lists the production team. This is where the front cover credit appears. In the middle of the text, it's hard for me to read on my CD. I took a picture, tried to zoom in, and I can't really see it, but it has some text. But now back to the story. By the mid-1970s, Jethro Tull were constantly recording and touring, but after years on the road and in the studio, they started to feel burnt out. So Ian Anderson decided he needed to slow things down and do something different. So in 1976, he decided to buy a small farm in Buckinghamshire in the rural English countryside. This move was a big shift away from the city life that had inspired much of his earlier work. Ian Anderson found himself surrounded by big trees and hills and a beautiful landscape. This revitalized Ian Anderson's creative juices. He immersed himself in the rich history and folklore of the British Isles, a passion he had developed years earlier after producing the album Now We Are Six for the folk rock band Steel Eye Span. He replaced songs about urban life with songs about seasons, pagan traditions, and woodland spirits. This wasn't just a change of scenery, it was what the band needed to kickstart the band's second creative act. If the move to the countryside provided the lyrical inspiration, the sound of Songs from the Wood was where the true magic happened. The band was able to do something that might not have sounded like a good idea on paper, but they were able to combine the band's signature progressive rock sound with traditional British folk music. They created this by experimenting with new instruments while at the same time keeping the ones that were part of the core sound of the band. The sound of Martin Barr's guitar was still present, but it was now mixed with instruments like acoustic guitars, the mandolin, the lute. John Evans' keyboard playing found new life, trading in a spacey and theatrical keyboard work for rich organ-driven harmonies and delicate piano lines that felt at home in a medieval forest. And holding it all together was the inventive rhythm section of Barry Barlow and John Glasscock, who provided a foundation that was both powerful and melodic. The song's opening moments immediately announced this change. The title track, Songs from the Wood, begins with a multi-tracked a cappella vocal harmony that sounds like magical fairies in the forest, a far cry from the roaring blues rock of the early days. The song then explodes into a joyous, celebratory folk rock anthem with Anderson's flute playing that can be heard along with the other acoustic instruments. It was an instant signal to the audience this was a new sound and a new identity. Next, a track like Jack and the Green strips the sound back to its core, a simple folk song performed solo by Ian Anderson on all instruments. It's a testament to the album's authenticity, a moment of quiet, personal storytelling that feels like it was written by a fireside. But the band hadn't abandoned their heavier roots. On Hunting Girl, the acoustic intro transitions into one of Martin Barr's most memorable riffs, a powerful galloping rock riff that perfectly complements the song's vivid lyrical narrative. It proves that the band could still rock with the best of them, but they were doing so with a new sense of purpose and thematic consistency. The album's magic is the seamless interplay. You have a song like Velvet Green with its beautiful melody and pastoral imagery. Then you have The Whistler, a track so catchy it was released as a single. The album feels less like a collection of separate songs and more like a cohesive, fully realized journey through a fantastical woodland. Each track contributes to a larger whole, creating a world that is once ancient and modern, serene and powerful. It was a confident, self-assured, artistic statement that resonated with critics and fans alike, defining the sound and direction of Jethro Tull's second act. The album's release was met with a collective sigh of release from critics and fans, hailed as a definitive return to form. Songs from the Wood was a powerful rebuttal to the criticism that had plagued the band's recent work. Where A Passion Play and Too Old to Rock and Roll had been met with confusion and disappointment, this album was embraced as a fresh, vital, and creatively inspired masterpiece. Commercially, it was a solid success, charting at number 8 in the United States and 13 in the UK, signaling that the public was on board with this new direction. This wasn't just a brief moment of creative clarity. It was the start of a new chapter. Songs from the Wood proved so successful that it served as the first part of what would become the band's definitive folk rock trilogy. The next two albums, 1978's Heavy Horses and 1979's Stormwatch, continued to explore and refine the themes of nature, tradition, and rural life, solidifying this new sound as the core of Jethro Tull's celebrated second act. It was a remarkable and successful reinvention that gave the band's career a new sense of purpose and longevity. The legacy of Songs from the Wood is undeniable. More than just a collection of great songs, it's a testament to a band that refused to be defined by a single era. It proved that true creative vision can not only overcome past mistakes, but also pave the way for a vibrant and celebrated new chapter. The folk rock trilogy it started stands out as a cornerstone of their discography, but as fans know, the story of Jethro Tull's evolution didn't stop there. Their next move would perhaps be the most surprising yet, a stark departure from the pastoral folk sounds towards something more synthetic and new wave. If you're interested in that dramatic shift, the album that took them there, you want to check out my video for the album A from 1980. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments, do you think Songs from the Wood was their definitive creative reinvention, or does a later album hold that title? Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.